It's time for a rant video, and it's of the usual shill Josh Wilding and the website he works for, Comicbookmovie. As you know, I've already made a lot of videos in regards of his bias against DC and not being able to admit that he's a Marvel show. So one of the posts he made on Twitter, which somebody showed me because he's got me on block, where in regards of in regards of James Gunn, he's put the Suicide Squad game leaks here have got me thinking one thing: James Gunn has got his work cut out for him dealing with these touchy, deluded DC fans. What a fan base! Now, what I don't understand is that he's put hashtag Suicide Squad game, and it's got me thinking about how he's saying about James Gunn has got his work cut out. Aside from the fact that it's the Suicide Squad game by Warner Brothers, what's that got to do with James Gunn? Now I know that he wanted the DC animated series and games and certain things like that to be all be linked, but I don't see how that game kind of would be, because considering the fact that obviously they've been working in the game for years, and James Gunn's only joined Warner Brothers last year, so I don't see how that's connected. So how on earth does the video game, which he had nothing to do with, has any relevance to him being in charge of the DC films? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Then he sits there and puts he calls them, he puts these touchy, deluded DC fans, which he claims that he's a comic book fan, which he quite clearly aren't. Because if you were a comic book fan, why would you sit there and say and use the exact words he said, and I quote, touchy, deluded DC fans? Now he's kind of proven that he's a Marvel show. Other people who I've spoken to who have had history of him, and even actually other journalists, which I'm not going to name them because I don't have their permission to, have even admitted that that Josh Wilding is a Marvel show. And he says, and these are his own words. Again, someone showed me his post, what he said, because obviously he has me on block. So yeah, I mean, for me, if I was making a comment like that, I wouldn't turn and say these touchy, deluded DC fans or Marvel fans, because I'm a DC comics fan, and I'm a Marvel fan, but in general I'm a comic book fan. So I wouldn't make a remark like that, which I find incredibly stupid. Anyway, his second tweet, he's put skipped Blue Beetle. So in other words, he hasn't watched it, but he's passing judgment on a film that anything that he hasn't seen. Now, I haven't seen Blue Beetle yet, and I hope to see it at some point. I don't go to the cinema much because my local cinema are closed, and obviously the cinemas are much further out, so for me it's kind of really harder to see movies anyway, and plus the cinema tickets these days are expensive. But I wouldn't pass judgment on something that I haven't seen. So he's put skip Blue Beetle, skipping Aquaman, The Lost World, The Flash, killed the DCEU for me. Now, this doesn't make any sense. So he's admitted that, and these are his own words, and I quote, skipped hashtag Blue Beetle, skipping Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom, hashtag The Flash, I've killed the DCU for me. So how can something have killed the DCU when you actually haven't watched it? He's admitted that he skipped, i.e. not watched any of the movies. So how can something have killed something when you actually haven't watched it to pass judgment? That's absolutely ridiculous. And what I find even more ridiculous about his comments, right, is it's very strange how he's quick to attack anything that is DC related, but when it's Marvel related, he doesn't say anything. So, for example, and I've made this quote before. When Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania came out, before it came out, obviously when they're showing you like posters and trailers and TV spots, he was really hyping up the movie on, it's going to be good, and it's going to be a big blockbuster. It's going to be a big blockbuster and hit the billion dollar mark. As soon as the movie came out, and obviously critics didn't like it, and then obviously it didn't make as much money opening week, went quiet. Second week, it had a huge drop. And what did Josh Whedon do? Stop talking about it. Didn't make any more articles saying, "Oh, it was disappointing box office," and so forgot about it, swept it under the carpet. Then we had The Marvels, which totally flopped in the cinema, and by looks of things, probably is not going to break even, and basically, obviously, was an absolute disaster. Again, he did the same thing, praising, the movie before it came out, the actors' interviews, posters, trailers, the whole shebang. Soon as the actual reviews came out, where people were slamming it and saying it was bad and how much they didn't like it, what did Josh Wilder do? Stopped talking about it. Sound familiar? Then obviously, and after that, swept it on the carpet, and then didn't want to know about the movie. Even for somebody that claims that he's a Marvel show, he's not even a true Marvel fan. And at the end of the day, look, if he only likes the Marvel characters because he can relate to those characters, whether it's growing up or whatever it is, I have no problem in somebody doing that kind of thing. But the thing is, if you're pro Marvel and you already hate DC, for example, you're not going to be objective on that particular subject matter of DC, because you've already put your hatred of of the entire franchise. Now, with the James Gunn thing, right, he's right. Obviously, we're not going to see anything until 2025 with Superman Legacy, and it's pretty obvious that he's going to sit there and slag that off as well. And as again in the first quote that I read to you regarding what he said about this is why Suicide Squad game and James Gunn got his work cut out. So already he's dooming James Gunn already, even before we've seen his vision of this Chapter 2 Gods and Monsters, in terms of what his vision is going to be on the actual DCU, what his vision of it. But yet the funny thing is, when James Gunn, the last Marvel movie he did, which was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Josh Whedon was absolutely hyping it, saying it was the movie of the year, it was the best Marvel film, and it was absolutely salivating over it. And obviously that was going to be his last movie for Marvel / Disney. As soon as he goes over to DC now, and he's the head honcho, obviously DC's version of Kevin Feige, now he's sitting there and slagging off and ripping into James Gunn. But yet didn't have that problem when he was over doing stuff for Marvel. And again, if you go back onto my YouTube video which I've done in regards of Josh Whedon and Comicbookmovie, even that's why I call nickname Comicbookmovie. You live and see that. You can go back and check on the dates on which I uploaded them. Everything that I said that Josh Whedon that was going to do in regards of all of the DC movies that were being released, I 100% predicted that everything that he was going to say and everything that he was going to do. And again, you can go back and check on the dates, because these were several months ago, and it's exactly what he's done. When Marvel, and as of all, he's not even a proper Marvel fanboy, because when Marvel films, the Phase 4 of Marvel, let's face it, hasn't been very great. They've still been enjoyable to some extent, but nothing to the strength of the early phases of the Marvel films, and especially with films such as Iron Man, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Avengers, Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. This is when obviously the Marvel films were the creme de la creme, that they were on top of their game. And then since then, from after Endgame's finished, it's just not been as strong. And obviously they're trying to kind of I've been hearing trying to course correct, and obviously they probably will be introducing the Fantastic Four and X-Men, and whether that's going to be enough. And we've already seen the quality of the movies, so for example, like the Marvels, where the quality had just completely dipped. But yet he doesn't want to talk about it. As I said before, when a Marvel film does well and hits the $1 billion mark, he's ready to make articles milking it and praising how good it is a film of the year and how good it was and blah, 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 blah. And when a Marvel film absolutely flops or gets bad reviews, what does he do? He stops talking about it and pretends that the movie never happened. The Marvels only came out roughly over a month ago. So maybe a month or 4 to 5 weeks ago. And he's not said a word about it. The Flash movie, which didn't do very well, but personally, I enjoyed it. Not because it's the best film of the year, but I enjoyed it enough to the point where I enjoyed it. Not perfect by any means. Came out in May. Again, didn't do well at the box office for multiple reasons, which I might do a video on at some point in the future. Even what did them just while they kept making videos, negative videos in terms of slagging it off. And even now, as obviously now we're coming into Christmas or Christmas Eve as I'm filming this, as of last week, he was still making videos in regards of the Flash movie, which came out in May and it's December. But yet, quickly forgotten about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and of recently the Marvels, where he's totally forgotten that movie ever happened, or even the fact that the Marvel movies of Phase 4 haven't been doing very well when it comes to box office or even reviews of that people in terms of the reviews of the actual movie themselves. He stopped talking about it, and he's not going to, right? Because obviously, because he's too busy arse licking Marvel. And I don't understand why it's got. And even in the comment section, there have been some people who have got the balls to sit there to call him out for what he does in the comment section. But obviously, we know that that's not going to change. Comicbookmovie, for example, the site won't do anything because at the end of the day, he's generating traffic in the sense of you'll have people that will be bootlicking him, agreeing with him, or you'll have people that will be disagreeing with him, but or in general, people arguing with him, or whether it's for or against him. And as long as obviously that he gets the hits on his clickbait articles, he'll keep doing it, and the fact that they won't even get rid of him. The minute that, for example, that people start turning against every single one of these pathetic articles that he does, that's when he will either leave or they'll get rid of him. But it's obviously done for clickbait and to get views and hits, and that's what it's really about, really. I mean, as I keep calling him, to me, he's not even a proper comic book fan. To me, he's an absolute fake comic book fan that just does things for drama, fanboy wars and clicks, and that's all he is. And as I said before, never ever bootlick companies, because unless you've got shares in the company or you work for them, you shouldn't be sitting there and putting companies on high praise. And it's funny how people are willing to sit there and to let certain people off. So, for example, with the controversy in regards of Insomniac had a data breach, and unfortunately details of their like Wolverine and other future games were leaked out, and also employers details, which isn't very nice, because obviously people can, we live in a day and technology where people's information can be hacked, and this is a horrible thing that can happen to people. And there were a few gaming journalists, who I'm not going to name, in gaming sites that said that they weren't going to, for example, sit there and talk about it, which is their prerogative. But the same ones were only just weeks ago, months ago, had no problem in talking about similar things that happened to other companies like Capcom and other companies that had their data, that had their site, their information breached, and personal information of the of those developers and game, like for example GTA 6 got. That's why the GTA 6 trailer came out a day early, because basically it all leaked out early. So basically they had to put out the trailer a day early, so they had to take the hit. But yeah, loads of other gaming companies have had their information leaked out, wherever it's been. Obviously the GTA 6 from Rockstar, Capcom have, and these companies have, and then obviously the Suicide Squad game from Warner Brothers. These same gaming journalists and gaming sites had no problem in talking about the leaks and stuff that happened with these companies. But when it's to do with Sony and their company Insomniac, they don't want to sit there and talk about it. And again, it's the familiar pattern. It's because it's Sony, and because it's Sony, some of these people are too scared of kind of saying anything, because they're probably not going to get free games or free merchandise given to them. So basically, you keep your trap shut. And this is the problem. I've always said that, whether it's with people like Josh Whedon, who is biased towards Marvel and probably getting free merchandise and tickets to see the movies early, is never ever worship a company in the ground and welcome, because they don't even know who you are. All you're doing is that you're buying their products, hopefully enjoying their products, and then they're getting their money. And for me, I've always said on my channel that whether or not a product that I buy, or even if I was ever given, which has never happened, you will get 100% honesty in what I feel about the particular product. If I don't feel it's great, then I'm going to tell you straight that it's not great, especially if I'm paying it for my own money. And if I was getting something sponsored, you will sit there and hear me give my honest opinion about it. And if I did get something given to me for free and it was a sponsored thing, and I didn't like it, I would sit there and tell you. And if it means that they wouldn't give me anymore, then so be it. I mean, you have to be honest and real with people, because especially if people want your advice in wanting to get something. As I've said before, I'm a big Apple fan. As of recently, you would have seen my unboxing of the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and of recent my iWatch Series 9, and I am going to be uploading eventually, probably next week, my own phone, which is the iPhone 15 Pro. And even though I love Apple products and Apple products in terms of the functionality and the build quality, there are things that I don't like about Apple. Like, for example, the price of the products for me could be a bit cheaper. Some of their business practices in terms of let's say changing out a battery, or for example, even to get an accessory, say for the Apple iWatch, whether it's for the Series 9 or phones or the watches below that, the older models, or even the iWatch Ultra 2 or Ultra 1. To get the bands for the watches, if you just get a normal sports band, which is the rubber one, it's £49 for it. That's basically for the two parts. For one each strap, it's £25, and if you get the stainless steel, it's over £100. And for me, that's a lot of money. And even though I chose to buy the Series 9 iWatch, I do think that's too much money to pay for to pay for those straps. And even things like obviously now they're using a USB Type C. Now you can buy them cheaper than the ones the Apple one. But even when they used to have the lightning cable, that's very expensive in terms of what they're charging for it. Their cases for their phones for me are too expensive. Changing the batteries, and even right down to the Apple Care, for me is far too expensive. And even with Sony and Xbox, right? Even with them, I love both companies, but the price that gains, where in the UK now you're paying anything for the brand new releases, anything between like £60 and £17 now in the UK, or dollars for the next gen games. That's very, very expensive, and I don't like that business practice. And that's why with a lot of the games, unless I'm buying it out of my own birthday money or Christmas money, a lot of the new releases now, I don't buy them now. I just pretty much wait until I'll buy them second hand, or they're in a big, huge discounted sale. But yeah, you can still love a company, and then still be critical by things that they do, whether it's their products or bad business practices that they do, and still enjoy and like that company, and still be honest. And it's just really unfortunate that you have people like Josh Wilder, and that you have people like me who's been a comic book fan for over 30 years plus, and reading various different comics over the years, whether it was DC or Marvel. And back in the day, it wasn't fashionable to walk around with superhero merchandise, where people used to pick on you and call you a nerd. And like Superman the movie, as you can see in the my Blu-ray, was one of the first successful superhero movies, which was the template with all superhero movies, for whether it's DC or Marvel. And now where it's sport with an abundance of movies, whether it's from DC or Marvel, we have TV shows from DC and Marvel, animated shows from DC and Marvel, and even shows like Invincible, which is on Amazon Prime. That's where sport, and then you're seeing a lot more superhero products, whether it's mugs, t-shirts, jumpers, even trainers out where you can get Spider-Man trainers and onesies and stuff like that. So now it's on baseball baseball caps, which I've got a couple of, and Superman necklaces, which I have. So now you can walk around the parade, how how much of a fan you are. And then when you look at the top of it, you can see my Christmas stuff. You can see some of my DC figures there. You got Supergirl there, you got the Flash, you got Kid Flash there, it's Iris West, you got the Wally West Flash there, you got Robocop, you got Nightwing, and you got the from the 80s, you got another, and I've got a lot more stuff. And yeah, obviously people, you wouldn't see it unless you came into my home, but I've always been a comic book fan, regardless of DC or DC or Marvel. And I try to watch as many of the TV movies, the TV movies, the cinema, the big screen movies, and the TV shows as possible. But even though there's never enough time, but yeah, I think with sport, in terms of when it comes to superhero um, related material, that that you can be proud of now, wearing a t-shirt now, even though it was done, as well, I was mocked for it back in the day. And even I'm well known, and people are well known for, for having so many superhero t-shirts that people see. I get people saying, when I go to shops and people serve me behind in retail, saying to me how much I love my shirt, whether I'm wearing say a Superman t-shirt or a Harley Quinn t-shirt or a Batman t-shirt. I always get people, whether it's even kids, go, "Oh, look, mum, look at his shirt." And it's kind of really great that you get people complete strangers come up to you saying it, how they really like your shirt. So as I've been collecting super comics for over 30 years, and it's really disappointing that people like Josh Wilden are spoiling the fun for others, and he can't be and for me, he's spoiling the fun for others, and he can't admit that he's a Marvel show. And again, he will keep doing and keep doing. And for me, I will continue to me in calling him out, even though he has been blocked. But it's just so disappointing that you get people like him continuously doing things and showing his hate and showing his hatred for DC. Again, as before, if he prefers and can relate more to the Marvel movies, then I have absolutely no problem with that. Be open and be honest about it. Again, like I said, there are people that just prefer Xbox consoles and Xbox games, or just prefer prefer PlayStation games for whatever reason, or some people just prefer the Nintendo products, and that's fine, because at least you're being open and being honest. So, oh god, my phone's ringing. So anyway, I'll leave it as that, and my rant with Josh Wilden.